Victoria Winters. Even though the coroner has given an official opinion in the unexplained death of a man, the mystery of that death still creates dissension in our town, and not everyone agrees with the verdict.
Mrs. Johnson, no one saw you come up?
Oh, no, that Mr. Wells at the desk wouldn't see the nose on his face.
I'm sorry to have to ask you to come here, but it's a little risky at your house.
It's not my house. It's Mr. Malloy's house. I only worked for him.
No matter.
So, the coroner decided to call Mr. Malloy's death accidental. I can't tell you how shocked I was by that.
I know. I felt the same way. I still feel the same. But I think you should soft pedal how you feel about it.
How can I? When I know someone killed him, and that someone is walking around free, and Mr. Malloy is dead.
I know. I know. But if that someone found out how you felt about it, how you really feel about it, he wouldn't want you to come up to work at Collinwood.
Oh, I suppose not. If we're talking about the same person.
Yes, there's no need to mention names. I have two goals in this life. One is to get Collinwood and all it represents. The other is to avenge Bill Malloy's death.
I hope I'll be able to help you with your plans, but you understand, I'm only interested in solving the mystery of Mr. Malloy's death.
Well, according to the coroner, there is no mystery. Bill died accidentally.
And there's 3 people that know better than that.
3?
You, me, and the person who killed him.
Very true. Excuse me. Hello? Yes, this is Burke Devlin. Oh, yes. Yes, I'm always glad to hear from you. When was this? Last night. I see. Sure thing. Thanks very much. Right. Well, that's very interesting. Roger Collins brought Victoria Winters to the Blue Whale last night.
Is that so unusual?
No, not really, but Sam Evans was there with his daughter. It seems that Evans and Collins were arguing about something. What they were quarreling about has to be connected with Bill Malloy's death. So, evidently his death didn't solve their little problems. Mrs. Johnson, how did Mr. Malloy feel about Roger coming back to live at Collinwood?
Oh, he was very upset. He had no use for Roger.
How did Bill feel about Sam Evans?
Well, they were friends, not close friends. But I often heard Mr. Malloy say what a shame it was, the way Sam Evans had let himself go to seed.
Did he ever mention anything about why he thought Sam Evans had gone to seed?
No, not to me, he didn't.
I see. If we could find the answer to that question, it might be the answer to the big one. The big question. Who killed Bill Malloy?
More coffee, Pop?
No, thanks. Well, you been busy this morning?
Oh, same as usual.
Are your customers still talking about Bill Malloy's death?
Not so much. The coroner's report seems to have stopped most of it. Now they're back to fishing and football.
They forget so easily.
Why don't you forget about it, too, Pop? It's not doing you any good to keep thinking about it.
I know.
You know, I thought once we got that report, your worries would be over.
Well, what do you mean by that? What makes you think I was worried about the report? What makes you think that?
No reason, but you were.
Well, I'm not now. I never really even gave it a thought. Not a thought.
Okay. Hey, did your meeting with Roger Collins last night in the Blue Whale have anything to do with your being not so nervous?
No, of course not.
What were the two of you talking about? For a minute, you looked as thick as thieves.
Nothing important.
Oh, come on now. When Roger came over to our table, he looked like he'd been stung by a bee.
You're imagining things.
I know what it was. You and Raj robbed a bank, and now you're arguing about how to split the loot.
None of your business. Maggie, I didn't mean that. I haven't been myself lately.
That's what I've been wondering about, Pop. If you're not yourself, then who are you?
What I'm interested in at Collinwood is anything and everything about Roger Collins. Where he goes, who he talks to on the telephone, who comes to see him, things like that.
And you think that'll add up to proof that he killed Mr. Malloy?
Well, that's what I want to believe.
Well, of course, we don't know yet for sure that I'll be hired as the housekeeper at Collinwood.
But Carolyn said she was in favor of it, didn't she?
Oh, yes, indeed she did.
Yeah, but it's Mrs. Stoddard who makes the decisions in that house. Not David or Carolyn or Roger.
Now, you mentioned this Victoria Winters. I've heard Mr. Malloy speak about her a couple of times, but I'm not sure what her real connection with the family is.
Victoria Winters is an orphan. She was raised in a foundling home in New York. Mysteriously, she was offered a position at Collinwood to tutor David.
Well, you say mysteriously. Why?
Well, I had a private detective check on her background, everything. He didn't come up with anything. Isn't it strange that Elizabeth Stoddard would hire some girl she didn't know anything about?
No, not when you think about it. You know, they had that large staff at Collinwood 18 years ago. And then when Paul Stoddard left, Mrs. Stoddard fired them all. The cooks, the maids, the butler, the chauffeur, all of them. I haven't had anybody else there except old Matthew, the caretaker. Now, when Mrs. Stoddard decided that she had to get help for that, to take charge of that boy, that's exactly what she would do. She'd get an outsider that knew nothing about them.
What are they trying to hide?
Well, I don't know. But if I get into Collinwood, I'll do my best to find out.
Good. Good. Oh, well, that reminds me. On the days that Maggie works at the coffee shop downstairs, her father usually comes in and has breakfast. He should be there about now. I'd like to know what he and Collins were talking about last night.
Well, I haven't had my breakfast yet.
Neither have I. You go on down.
All right.
I'll come down in a few minutes. Mrs. Johnson. We don't particularly care for each other, right?
If it'll help find out who killed Mr. Malloy, I'll hate you in public.
Hello. Oh, hello, Blair. Thanks for calling. I need your help. Yes, I want to be in a position to put up an offer of a mortgage on Collinwood. Yes, on the home and the estate. Now, are you known to either Frank or Richard Garner? They're lawyers for Mrs. Stoddard in Bangor. Good. In that case, if you approached them, they wouldn't be able to connect you with me, would they? Fine. No, Blair. I just want you to contact them as representing some money people from New York. You know, an interest in providing mortgage money. And that's it. I'm going to see if I can't arrange it so that Mrs. Stoddard or her brother might not suddenly have a need for a large sum of money.
Pop, if you don't talk to me, I'm going to start making you pay for your breakfast.
Okay. How much?
I was kidding. Pop, you used to be able to see through my jokes before I even made them.
Uh-huh. Maybe I'm getting old.
Oh, you're still a young man. It's just that you act childish. Good morning, Mrs. Johnson. You want to see a menu?
No, thanks.
Oh, that's too bad. I typed these out myself, and I'm kind of proud of them. Not one single typographical error.
Well, I'll have vegetable juice and whole wheat toast well done. I'll butter it myself. And coffee.
Coming right up. She's a bundle of laughs.
Why should she be?
Do you think I ought to mention anything to her about Carolyn wanting Mrs. Stoddard to hire her as a housekeeper?
No, I don't. What goes on up in Collinswood is none of our business.
Right. You know, I don't trust her.
Why not?
I don't know, just female intuition, I think.
Morning, Maggie.
Morning, Bert. Do you want some coffee?
Yes, thank you. How are you, Sam?
Fine, Burke. You?
Couldn't be better. Suppose you're happy about the verdict our coroner arrived at?
It was the only possible one.
Maybe you're right. But I don't think so.
Burke, nobody had anything to do with Bill Malloy's death.
Oh, yes. Someone had something to do with it. And that someone is standing right there. Burke Devlin. I'm saying that Burke Devlin is responsible for Mr. Malloy being dead.
Now, wait a minute.
Oh, I don't say you drowned him. But if you hadn't come back to Collinsport, Mr. Malloy would still be alive. You come back to Collinsport and stirring up all that mess about an accident 10 years ago got Mr. Malloy so upset he didn't know if he was coming or going.
He was my friend.
Well, that's a fine friend. Come to town and do everything you can to throw doubt and suspicion on everyone. It was you caused Mr. Malloy to have that accident and drown. And in your heart, you know it.
That's not true. Burke didn't have anything to do with it.
Now, wait a minute, Davy. Wait a minute.
She doesn't know what she's talking about.
Okay, Dave, all right. I appreciate your concern. Now, come on. I want to talk to you a minute. Out here. All right. What are you doing here, anyway?
She doesn't know what she's talking about. She didn't have anything to do with it.
I know that. I know that, and I'm glad you took up for me in there. Now, tell me. What are you doing here?
I was looking for you. And I was looking for you.
Well, what do you want to talk about, Davy?
There's something wrong. She doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm sick. The way everybody's blaming you for everything. That's just the way they treat me, too.
Well, we'll just have to take it, Davy, okay?
I'd like to kill them all.
Oh, now, come on. That would be a pretty drastic solution, don't you think? Now, please, tell me, why did you come into town? You think maybe...
to talk to you.
Maybe we'd better...
Privately.
Maybe we'd better go upstairs in my room if it's private, okay?
That's what I meant.
Okay.
Mrs. Johnson, did you really mean that when you said that Burke was responsible for Bill Malloy's death?
Well, not directly. But until Burke Devlin came to town, Mr. Malloy was a different man. Till Burke showed on the scene and began digging into all that past history.
But Bill Malloy wasn't involved in any of that.
It distressed Mrs. Stoddard, and that was enough to make Mr. Malloy involved. And he was determined to stop Burke.
And you think that Burke stopped him?
Well, no, I mean to say not directly. We have to accept the coroner's verdict on that. But I know that Mr. Malloy knew that shortcut by Lookout Point as well as he knew the back of his hand. If his mind hadn't been so distracted by Burke Devlin, he would never have lost his footing the way they say.
Maybe. Okay, now. Now, what's on your mind?
Is it true? Is it true you want to take Collinwood and everything away from my Aunt Elizabeth?
Who on earth told you that?
That's what she said. She said that you wanted to get it in any way you could. And I mustn't see you again.
Did she say I offered to buy it? Did she say that, Davy?
All she said was I could never see you again because you wanted to get it in any way you could.
Ah, Davy. Come here. Come here. Sit down with me, will you? You remember the last time you were here? Huh? Well, you suggested that I buy it then. Remember? So that we could have fun up there, all right? Remember?
And she thinks you were doing it just to be mean.
I couldn't be mean to you, my friend.
Just the way I couldn't be mean to you.
Exactly.
They all say I can't have divided loyalties.
Who is they all?
Oh, Aunt Elizabeth, Matthew. It's a hard decision.
I'm sure it is. But I know you'll come up with the right answer.
You know, Miss Winters has been teaching me about the Civil War, and they had divided loyalties then.
Yes, they did.
Sometimes brother was fighting against brother and friend against friend.
That's very true.
That's the kind of decision I have to make. It's like you were General Grant and Aunt Elizabeth was General Lee.
Well, I'm flattered if she is.
That's just it. They were both great, but one of them had to lose.
And one of them had to win.
I don't want either of you to win because I don't want either of you to lose.
Well, Davy, what do you say that we have a truce, huh?
Does that mean no more fighting?
That's right. No more fighting. You don't fight me, and I don't fight you.
But we weren't fighting.
Say, that's right. Well, then you and I don't need a truce, do we?
No, we don't. What about General Grant and General Lee?
Well, I guess we'll just have to rewrite history so nobody loses.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. Wouldn't it, though?
I expect when I get home, if they find out I've been here, they'll beat me.
I hope not.
I expect they will. They do it all the time. It'll be even worse if they hire that old Mrs. Johnson to be my jailer.
Mrs. Johnson, she's a good old soul, Davy.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter anyway.
Davy, come here a minute. Come here. I want to talk to you about her. About Mrs. Johnson. So you really shouldn't resent what you heard Mrs. Johnson saying in the restaurant. She didn't mean a word of it.
It sure sounded like she did.
She's very upset, David, about Mr. Malloy.
I liked him, too, but I don't go around blaming people for things they never did.
Well, I guess she acts that way because, well, suddenly she's got nothing to care about in this world. Nothing to look forward to.
But maybe she has. My Aunt Elizabeth was thinking about hiring her as a housekeeper.
Was she?
Yeah. And I thought it was just going to be one more person to watch me.
You see, Davy? You don't think things through, you know? Now, that's a big house. Your Aunt Elizabeth needs someone else to take care of it, not to watch you.
I guess I was all wrong about her. Maybe I should apologize.
It takes a man to admit that he's been wrong.
Carolyn apologized to me for something yesterday. Only she wasn't wrong. She was right. She said I stole something of yours, but I didn't really steal it. I just borrowed it to look at.
What was that?
That picture of you.
Oh, that picture. How could you have stolen that when it's been here all the time? Huh? Yeah, well, it wouldn't be stealing it because, well, it belongs to you anyway. I meant for you to have it.
You did?
Sure, that's why I put it down there, for you to take it.
Can I take it?
Listen, you don't have to ask for something when it's already yours. Got it?
Yeah. Gee, I'm glad I came to see you.
So am I, Davy. So am I. Let's go.
You're absolutely right, Sam. I think it's Burke Devlin's nature to pry around and upset people.
Maybe Burke was upset, too.
We'll have to learn to forget. Live and let live.
That's exactly what I say. I'd like another piece of this toast.
Hey, you like my cooking?
But I'll have it over at this table here. I'm just not built for these stools.
Maggie, I want you to watch your manners with her. She's gone through a lot lately.
Okay, Pop. I guess I was a little harsh on her. She's all right.
Now, I have to make a phone call.
Who are you gonna... I'm sorry I said that, Pop.
Mrs. Johnson. I want to apologize for the way I acted.
Well, that's perfectly all right, David.
I wish you accept in the spirit in which it was tendered.
I do. And perhaps I was harsh about Mr. Devlin.
You mean you apologize?
I suppose so.
Burke, she apologized to you.
Well, that's fine. Thank you. Well, this calls for a little celebration.
Yes, sir.
The drinks are on me. Hot chocolate, Davy?
Yeah, it's great.